Welcome to the final episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover for the season. We're here to give our review of Super Bowl 59. The smoke has cleared and the dust has settled, and the Philadelphia Eagles pummeled the Kansas City Chiefs into submission to secure a second Lombardi trophy in the space of 7 seasons and get revenge for Super Bowl 57. Just me in the intro here because we've got a guest joining us. For the early part of the show, some fantastic news broke about the NFL coming to Ireland for the 2025 season as the Pittsburgh Steelers will play a home game at Croke Park in Dublin. We've got a fantastic guest on from Ireland to join us and talk about it. His name is Jimmy English. He runs Gaelic Gridiron and is also a part of the Steelers Ireland podcast. So who better to give us insight on that fantastic news and discuss how excited Dublin and Ireland is as a whole for the Steelers coming in 2025. So we'll speak to Jimmy first before Byron and Joe join me to break down the big game, Super Bowl 59. We go through our final bets, our final results for the season before we sign off and head to a well-earned break. So first up, here's me with Jimmy English talking all things Dublin and Ireland for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've got a bonus special guest joining us on our Super Bowl 59 review episode. It's a rarity for us to have guests on our review show, but it's for a very, very special reason. I'm joined by Jimmy English, the driving force behind Gaelic Gridiron, and also one of the co-hosts for the Steelers Ireland podcast, because the NFL is coming to Dublin, and in 2025, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be playing at Croke Park as the home team, and we thought we'd get Jimmy on to talk about that fantastic news. Jimmy, the news broke on Friday in New Orleans during kind of the build-up to the Super Bowl. First of all, welcome to the show. How is it? How are you getting on? And how are you feeling after staying up a bit late for the Super Bowl last night?
Well, Paul, first of all, thank you very much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to join a fellow podcaster and talk American football, especially in the context of American football in Ireland. As you can hear, and I'm sure your listeners can hear, I am a slight bit hoarse. I was enjoying the festivities last night in Buskers on the Ball in Temple Bar, which will be one of the kind of premier NFL venues in Ireland. And, you know, the NFL UK and Ireland had the first ever official Super Bowl watch party there last night. So that was great crack. Great to see so many NFL fans out, which bodes well really for when the game does come here in October or September or wherever it may be. I don't actually know, I promise. just to get that question out of the way. I have a few ideas, all right, but I don't have an official date. But yeah, like you said, Friday was just a momentous day, a monumental day for fans here, and fans who've been supporting the game for so long. To finally get a game here, it's incredible. Still doesn't seem real, if I'm being honest with you. I keep waiting for everyone to kind of go, April Fools, we're not actually having a game here. But look, it is fantastic. It's going to be such an amazing event, and now we just have to start building up to it. So there's not that long to go, fortunately, to wait until it gets here.
Yeah, it'll come round so quickly. And I suppose one of the reasons we wanted to kind of be able to sit down and talk with you is around the sort of the journey of the NFL in Ireland. It feels like in the last couple of years, especially, it's gathered a lot more steam. And I think you've a part to play in that, the Pro Football Ireland guys, Michael McCabe, and so got a huge part to play for that. First of all, Jimmy, what does it mean to you to kind of be in that position now where the NFL is coming to Ireland? Because they're going to love it. Like, the NFL are going to love coming to Dublin and Ireland. Nobody goes to Dublin and doesn't like it and doesn't love it. So what does it mean to you that the NFL are finally coming to Ireland?
It's so special, Paul. It really is incredible for a fan who's been watching the game of American football for the guts of almost 20 years now. You know, when I look back, when I watched my first game and I started getting into it, it was never conceivable to me that we would someday have a game here in Ireland. It was just beyond the realms of possibility. And then, you know, a couple of years ago, the rumor started to kind of swirl around. The NFL are looking into a game here. There's feasibility studies being conducted. There were whispers. Of course, a big part of that was the league looking to push their international slate to 16 games per season eventually. And I think Dublin was always in the mix with that, because it is obviously a major, European international destination. It is the capital of college football in Europe here as well. We have the College Football Classic every year. And I think that was also a large part in the decision factor for the NFL to come here, is that they could see that Ireland and Dublin can support these large-scale international sporting events. So I think, there's some of the factors that went into it. And I think as well, you mentioned how the NFL in Ireland has kind of grown in the past 2 years really exponentially. And you're right, it really has taken off. And I think a large part of that is the visibility we're getting here now with the likes of Charlie Smith and Jude McAtamney from the GAA side of things going and actually playing in the NFL, because not only is that getting the sport mainstream media coverage here and mainstream media attention, which is building the audience, it's also opening up the sport to a whole new cohort of people, from different sporting backgrounds who mightn't have necessarily known or been interested in the NFL. So it's made it a lot more accessible. So I think it really has accelerated the process of getting a game here. And I don't think without those different things happening, we would be at this point where we have a game. And I mean, the Steelers only launched into Ireland, Paul, 2 years ago. In 2023 is when they had they got the global marketing rights to Ireland. And at that point, I think they were definitely looking at a game at some point down the line, but certainly not this fast. I mean, that's literally 2 years down the line from them launching. They're now having a game. So it is going to be very interesting to see how the logistics side of things is managed and how they manage to turn it around in a short space of time.
Yeah, and how kind of forthcoming have the Steelers been, especially the link to Ireland with the Rooney family and the ownership of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But from everything I've seen, they just seem to have embraced it and looked at the opportunity that there is in Ireland. And I guess kind of you working and doing what you do with the Steelers Ireland podcast, how has that relationship kind of been built over the last few years directly with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, they haven't done it by half measure. It hasn't just been lip service. They've been fully immersed in the Irish American football community here. Obviously they had their big watch parties in Croke Park over the past couple of years. They were great fun, and they really got involved. They were very visible. They had former players and legends come over and interact with fans. And around that, they also they've run a series of youth camps, youth flag football camps with different organizations around the country. So they really have committed to growing a viable fan base here and in embracing their Irish roots and really getting the sport accessible to people it's all about getting the sport out to people who mightn't necessarily have been familiar with it or knew how to get involved and opening the sport up for them, especially the younger fan base, with the youth flag football camps as well. And then the podcast has been fantastic as well, because you have the media side of things as well. And again, it's the whole thing with these podcasts, be it Gaelic Gridiron, Paul, yourselves there, or, the Steelers podcast. It's not about, being very technical and getting into the weeds and stuff. It is all about growing the sport. And I think that's what the Steelers have done very well, is they have not so much focused on themselves, but focused on, opening themselves up to people who mightn't have a team or mightn't, know a lot about American football and making it accessible to them. So look, there's so much potential there in terms of what they can do with their media now that we have a game here. I do expect to see it ramp up big time this year and especially peak around the game later on this year. And I'm very excited to be involved with that. And as a Steelers fan, of course, it is extra special that I do get to be part of their media efforts here in Ireland and just trying to grow the game in general.
Yeah, it's tremendous stuff. Is there a better match, Jimmy, for this one? We've seen...
I don't think so.
Yeah, is there a better match than the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ireland? I don't think there is. It is just kind of that perfect mix of kind of what the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers is and Pittsburgh sports itself as a whole and kind of what Ireland and Dublin represents as well. I think it's just it's a match made in heaven almost.
Well, there's the whole ancestral piece as well, Paul. I mean, Dan, the chief, Art Rooney Sr. himself, God rest him, his parents hailed from Ireland. They were first generation Irish immigrants to Pittsburgh. So it's not kind of made up or kind of exaggerated that the deep roots that the Steelers have to Ireland. So I think it was only fitting that they be the first team to play a regular season NFL game here as the home side. I mean, of course, we had the 1997 game, and that was great, and that laid the foundation. But I don't think they could have done a preseason game. I don't think they could have come as an away team. I think they had to be the home team, and they had to really own it. Similarly, when Notre Dame came here a few years ago, they were the home team. And I think they had to be the home team for it to make sense. So, look, I think it's going to be a really, really special time. And I think this is the turning point we are all waiting for. I think we all knew that the NFL was gaining traction here. It was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the wave was about to crash. And now we're right at the top of that wave. It's about to crash down hard on Ireland, and it's going to be incredible. So it is a great time to be involved here with the sport, and I'm just so excited to see what's going to happen next in terms of growth.
Yeah, well, there's going to be, let's say, around 80,000 people descending on
Croke Park
for it, and is it just sort of a bit of a special significance that the game is going to be at Croke Park? So we've seen the Aer Lingus College Football Classic games at the Aviva. Is it just something that means a little bit more, the fact that it's at Croke Park and that's going to be the first host of the NFL for Ireland?
I think so. I mean, you look at the efforts that the Steelers have gone to build that relationship with the GAA through their youth camps, for the kicking camps they've held here, for those of a GAA background trying to make it to the league. They have held kicking camps here for them as well. But I think the fact that the first game was here in 1997, it was in Croke Park. So I think there's a nice kind of full circle kind of historical element there. Croke Park is such a special place to Irish people. It really has got such a kind of mystical, historical significance to us here in Ireland. So I think it's nice to have that kind of tie in, and it builds into the mystique of the game as well, that it is going to be in the world-renowned Croke Park. But I think from a logistic point of view as well, it had to be in Croke Park because it holds about 27,000 more people than the Aviva Stadium. So I think from trying to sell as many tickets as possible and trying to accommodate as many NFL fans as possible, especially here at home, Croke Park was the obvious choice to host it. So I just hope they get some renovations done in time for whenever the game has. Like, don't get me wrong, Croke Park is great. It hasn't had a lick of paint in about 20 years, so it could do with being spruced up a little bit. So hopefully this will give the GAA a bit of motivation, seeing as how they're going to have, the world looking in on them some weekend in September or October. But it all kind of builds up to be a very, very special occasion.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm praying I get tickets. I've never been to Croke Park before. Fully enjoyed my visits to the Aviva Stadium on Lansdowne Road for the college games. And I suppose my last main question about the games, we have the games here over in England, and I think we take advantage. I think we take them for granted now because there've been so many, and it's been so long, 3 a year, and that's not a great place to be. But what is Dublin going to offer, and what is Ireland going to offer as kind of a host for the NFL that other places simply can't?
I think it's the crack, Paul. It genuinely is, and I know that might sound, kind of stereotypical of me to say, but it is genuinely. I mean, you talk about 100,000 welcomes, and you come to Ireland. It is true. Like, we do love hosting a party, and it is going to be a week-long party before that game, and there's going to be so much going on, and you can even see that when the college teams come over. There is so much going on for fans to enjoy, to really get into the whole. I think it'll be like a mini Super Bowl. If I'm being honest, I think the whole of Dublin City is going to shut down for a week, and it's just going to be a week-long party. I'll be taking the whole week off work, to be honest with you, just to take it all in, soak it all in, because it could well be a once in a lifetime. I don't think it will be. I think it's the first of several games the Steelers are going to have here over the next 10 or 15 years. But I think because of the historical significance and the fact that it is the first time to happen, I think it is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. And I think you're going to have NFL fans coming from all corners of the globe. Obviously the Pittsburgh faithful, you're going to have the European fan base contingent. And I think it's just going to be an absolutely incredible atmosphere and environment throughout Dublin. And, we love having people over. We love showing them how much our country has to offer. And we have seen before that Ireland and Dublin is a fantastic venue to host these major sporting events, and I think this will kind of would be like a landmark occasion for that. So like it's just, you know yourself, you've been here, Paul. Ireland is just different for the crack, as we say.
It is a truly special place, and like I say, kind of, I enjoyed last year going to the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. It was a tremendous weekend, and I think Dublin's just a perfect host, like a perfect event city. I think just the layout of it, you can get around easily. Just all the parts that just make it
exactly
just a fantastic. So easy to get to the stadiums. The
transport. You can walk from the city centre to the Croke Park in about 25 minutes.
Yeah. It's just a tremendous kind of hosting city, and I'm very much looking forward to being there. Fingers crossed I get a ticket for the game, but very much looking forward to being back.
You, me both.
I think you'll be all right, Jimmy. I think you'll be all right. Just on that note, is there a ideal opponent? So we know who the Steelers are going to be hosting in their 2025 schedule. Is there I think I see that I think there's one that would be perfect, but feel like it's not going to be, which won't be a division game. The Steelers won't give a home division game. But on that list, who do you think is the best matchup for to come to Dublin with the Steelers?
Well, like you say, it obviously won't be a divisional game because they wouldn't give that up from Akershire or Heinz Field. But I mean, there's a couple of interesting matchups there on our visiting teams for next year, and the three that kind of stand out to me are the Vikings, the Packers, and the Bills. I think any of those three would be incredible. Now, I don't think it'll be the Bills purely because that's a very, very big game. And I don't think they would deny Bills Mafia the opportunity to come into Pittsburgh. I think that's too big of a game to kind of give up. So that leaves either the Vikings or the Packers. And I would they're both teams that have traveled internationally before. I mean, the Vikings have played, I think it was last year they actually played in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that could be a consideration. The last time the Vikings and Steelers played across the pond was in London in 2013, which happened to be my first ever Steelers game. So that'd be nice. I think it would be kind of a full circle moment, 15 years later or 14 years later to have those teams kind of clash again in Ireland in Croke Park. What we're all hearing though, and what speculation is that it'll be the Packers. So I think that right now that's the most likely opponent, and of course the Packers have played internationally as well. They played in Brazil last year against the Eagles, so I think it could very well be a toss-up between the Packers and the Vikings, both of which would be incredible matchups. But honestly, I think regardless of who they play, just to have I'm just picturing now the two teams lining out in Croke Park and the national anthems playing on a lovely crisp September afternoon or evening in Dublin. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd love for it to be the Packers. They obviously got the Dan Whelan punter for the Packers as well. Exactly. Would be great. Just to kind of tie it all in, and yeah, two good teams. Obviously, the Packers great team, playoff team. Steelers playoff team from this year, so I think it'd be a good matchup as well, as kind of an interconference game. Yeah, just so looking forward to it, and we'll know more, I suppose, in the coming weeks about opponents.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there's going to. I mean, there's so much to look forward to in the build-up as well. You have the schedule release, you have the opponents confirmed for the international fixtures. That usually happens around May time, I think, when the league releases those. And then I'm sure, based on what I saw what we saw over in Madrid this year, there was a special launch event in the in the Bernabeu for the Miami Dolphins home game, which is only a few weeks after the Dublin game, as far as I can tell. So it's going to be a busy time for us. We're going to be in 3 or 4 different countries following the NFL for a couple of weeks, which is I love it. It's it's my life now. I love traveling to the games, and you make so many friends, and you see so many people that there's a really great community out there of the traveling kind of reporters and media guys who go around to those. So I am looking forward to welcoming you guys all over to Dublin as well. We're going to have to organize a couple of fizzy drinks at some stage as well throughout the weekend.
Sounds good, so you won't hear us declining that, Jimmy, for sure. Yeah, we're much looking forward to it. And we're rounding off the NFL season. This is our last show before we have a little bit of a break. The game last night was the Eagles crushed the Chiefs. You mentioned you were out at kind of Buskers on the ball watching it. How was the watch party at Buskers?
Yeah, it was great. Really, really well organized event. The guys always put on a great show there. So Kieran Carroll is the manager, the main man there. If you are listening somehow, fair play to you. But it's great to see that the relationship building between the NFL and, venues like this that do year round show the NFL and encourage fans to come down and provide a space for fans to come together. And, there must have been something like 25 different screens there last night. So no matter where you were standing or sitting, you had a great view of the game. I was there with a few of my mates. Really, really well organized event. Great crack. And so looking forward as well to seeing the NFL UK and Ireland kind of build on that. And I'm sure, like I said, in the build up to the game, and even in game week, there will be so many different fan events going on around the city and the country. So no, fair play to those guys for putting in the effort and putting on a great event.
Good stuff. How would you make of the game itself? I say Eagles just kind of dominated, really.
Yeah. I mean, 24-0 at halftime, 6 sacks, 3 turnovers or 3 takeaways. I mean, the Eagles clearly dominated, as I had a feeling they would, but at the same time, the Chiefs just imploded. I mean, the scoreline those were 2 kind of garbage time touchdowns towards the end. So the scoreline actually looks better than the game was. The Eagles had it won at that stage, but no, very, very impressive performance. I mean, Saquon Barkley, single season rushing record, including the postseason. Jalen Hurts, top of his game. Just a really, really good game overall. So great to see somebody other than Kansas City win. Hopefully my Steelers can get back there next year, but we have a lot of work to do in the meantime.
There is a fair bit of work for the Steelers.
Yeah, fair bit of work.
We'll see. It'll be an interesting off-season. But Jimmy, thanks ever so much for coming on. Just
pleasure.
want to give a quick shout-out to the work that you do. Gaelic Gridiron, tell us a little bit about that. Where can we follow Gaelic Gridiron?
Yeah, absolutely. All social media. We have, website, podcast. We're coming into the Irish domestic season now. This the first weekend of March, so I don't get that much of a break, Paul. I get a couple of weeks off, and then I'm straight back out on the road every weekend, covering the Irish League, which it's so important to me here as a former player and someone who's involved with the league here is. And now, of course, that there's so much spotlight on Ireland in terms of American football, I really hope that gives the domestic game here a little bit of a boost, American Football Ireland a bit of a boost, and we do see more people taking up both contact and flag football. So yeah, that's my weekends. My missus is going to hate me. She's not going to see me for about 4 months. So I know it's great. I mean, like my passion is American football, Paul. It's I live, breathe, and eat it. So it's great getting out of the road and seeing people in action, and it's nice because there's no NFL on TV, so to get to see a bit of real live action American football up close is always great.
Excellent, good stuff. Well, enjoy the domestic season. Thank you ever so much, Jimmy, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Great Teams cover. Make sure you go follow Jimmy. Go support Gaelic Gridiron at Gaelic_Gridiron. I think on Insta and Steelers Island as well. So yes. You'll get first-hand news, I'm sure, of everything to do with the Steelers coming to visit Dublin in 2025. So, Jimmy, thanks very much, and we appreciate you.
Great stuff, Paul. Thank you.
Thanks to Jimmy English there again from Gaelic Gridiron and Steelers Island. Great to talk through. The NFL finally making its way to Dublin. Looking forward to getting across to Dublin for the Steelers at some point in 2025. No doubt it will be a cracking weekend. We roll into the rest of the show. It's our final episode of the season before we take a well-earned rest. It's our Super Bowl 59 review, and we're going to get into talking about the game, how it went, our bets, and reviewing everything else and tying up the 2024 NFL season with a nice little bow. Gentlemen, of course, I'm joined by Byron and Joe. How are you both doing? How was your Super Bowls, gents?
Yeah, good. Finally got over Saturday. The Hot Ones Challenge came and went on Sunday, so that was good. That was a really fun stream. If anyone hasn't checked it out, I would recommend doing so. I had to go back and rewatch the end of it because I have no recollection of anything that happened from Wing 7 onwards. But yeah, shout out Paul and Joe. You've done a really good job with your questions. Kept it moving along really well because I was in no position to do anything other than answer with one word, I don't think.
It got rough.
From the last third of the show. But that was really fun. But the Super Bowl itself, I just watched it by myself. Cindy, my wife, done a smashing job of making some good Super Bowl snacks. She had Yeah, she was kind of laughing because I was having buffalo chicken one day on. And buffalo chicken pasties and buffalo chicken dip. So, yeah, very.
Does this man love buffalo chicken?
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, is he a glutton for punishment? We used Frank's sauce, so the 10 hot one sauces have been put away for someone else to receive them. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, yeah, a trooper for that. Yeah, as Byron said, check it out. It's available on our YouTube channel now. There may be an audio-only version coming out at some point if I can put it together. But yeah, the YouTube video is there. And we've not done it yet. The Fantasy Cares donation link we'll put as well. So, for Byron's torture, if you can, dip your hand in your pocket and make a donation to Fantasy Cares, a great organisation. Doing great things. Joe, how was your Super Bowl Sunday? Meg happy, of course, with the Eagles. Eagles winning.
Yeah, it was. The game was fairly a chilled one. And the game itself, it went obviously one direction. It went into a team dominated, so it just didn't it felt a weird Super Bowl just because it felt like it was over fairly quickly. So it was more relaxing. And yeah, it must be nice to be an Eagles fan because she spotted them, got 2 Super Bowls, and us 3 have got 0. So choosing the wrong teams on there. Good teams win, great teams cover.
Clearly, yes, the Eagles win 40-22, a second championship or second Super Bowl in 7 years for the Eagles after winning in 2017. Nice of Tom Brady to be present for both of the Eagles' Super Bowl victories so far, and they, of course, get revenge on the Chiefs from a Super Bowl 57 a couple of years ago where the Chiefs pipped him at the end. Where to start, really? I don't know. I mean, I feel it might have started to go wrong before the game even started for the Chiefs. There's like a litany of things, like the cheek of Mahomes to be walking around in an Eagles green-coloured suit, the monstrosity that Travis Kelce was wearing, something out of Saturday Night Fever, and then poor John Hamm's voice going in the introductions, like that. You couldn't have had a bigger contrast between what John Hamm had done and what Bradley Cooper did on the other side. And kind of from that moment on, the Chiefs were doomed, really. What did you make? Let's just break it down into kind of segments. What did you make kind of how the Chiefs approached the game at the start? Kind of this strategy offensively of just refusing to even try and run the ball?
Yeah. It's a really weird one where it's Andy Reid coming off a bye, which is normally, your Mike Tomlin as an underdog, Mahomes as an underdog, smash, and I don't want to be too dramatic, but I don't know, I found it so wanting from Andy Reid, play calling wise. There was a lot wrong with the Chiefs. Got to give ultimate respect to the Philadelphia Eagles who took everything away from them. But when I say took everything away from them, there was so little variety in what the Chiefs did. It was like they just kept running out the same formations, the same play sets. There was no unpredictability. There was no worthy on sweeps. There was no flea flickers. I'm not saying that should be in your bag in your first 15 plays, but it's that thing of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I can't believe how limited the Chiefs looked on offense. And again, massive respect to Philadelphia, but you asked about the Chiefs, so that's kind of where I'm answering it.
The Eagles will get their flowers, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs started 4 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, pick 6. It was, I don't want to say close to unwatchable, but it was like week 1 football. It was a team that wasn't ready for the occasion. It was a team that wasn't, ready for an opponent like the Eagles. I mean, even week 1 football might be a bit kind, but they just looked like they were just turning up and weren't ready for anything that they were about to see.
It was bizarre. I think especially knowing that strength of the Eagles defense is the front and they only need to rush 4. And as soon as early on when they were getting home with 4, surely there had to be some adjustment. And that was the bit that really shocked me around Europe. They're just doing the same things. They just refused. They didn't. I don't think they anything outside of a Mahomes scramble, they didn't try and run the ball, I think, until their 5th possession.
Yeah.
How you need to try and slow down a pass rush. And I get you might not have got success necessarily against the run a lot, but you needed just to, because if you ask Vic Fangio, from an Eagles perspective, look, what would you want here to make this perfect for your defense to play against that? Well, they just don't run the ball because we're just sending this 4. We know we're going to get there, or we know we're going to force pressure. And even if I need to, I can send a 5th, but get there with 4. If I don't have to worry about the run, then just pin their ears back. And for 20 minutes, that's what happened. And it was game over by the time the Chiefs tried to do anything else. Yeah,
it's with the Chiefs team that it's like when you think about it, like all this playoff run, that run game just has not got going. We were sat here when Pacheco came back from injury, and obviously he had a great playoff run last year. And we thought, okay, the Chiefs are going to go back to what they used to do. And like last year, they managed to establish a run really well. But it feels like they've never done that in the playoffs. Pacheco's never got going. Obviously, Kareem Hunt had a few nice games, but he's not the Kareem Hunt of old. So, yeah, I do agree. I think like what Byron said, it's like, why didn't they not try to do, like I said, with Worthy, with Hollywood Brown, just try and do like some of these sweet runs, just to like, to change things up, to like make the Eagles to think about it, because like you said, they just kept 4 in most of the time, and they just blanketed the Chiefs. Wide receivers, they had 7 people not on the line who just, the quarterbacks played outstanding. Obviously, you got to give a huge shout to Vic Fangio and to Howie for drafting the 2 rookies but they just blanketed. Like the wide receivers just weren't open a lot. Most times, especially early on, they weren't open. The only time it felt like they got open to begin with was that Hopkins when he was wide open. And I just think with what happened beforehand, just obviously affected Mahomes going forward. So yeah, it was a strange one. I think he finally, again, they're similar to like the Packers, for example. Like a lot of their wide receivers are number 2s. We'll see where Worthy goes going on from this, but I think they did miss, Rice. I think it finally was like, they actually missed that true number 1 who could open up a team as well, because it felt like none of them got open. Hollywood Brown, Juju, like I said, Worthy had a good game, but Hopkins as well. It feels like they're all number 2s, like, and Worthy's a rookie, so it just felt like they missed that kind of play as well. But it was just, like I said, it was just shot like nothing changed. But I think it all comes down to that offensive line. Just couldn't stop anyone. Like kicking Tooney out to the left tackle. We said before the game it was massive. I think I said in the preview and the review of the conference, that's where it's probably going to be won and lost. Can that offensive line hold up against this defense with having some, having to plug in players in different positions, and it clearly didn't. And they, I saw a lot of people said, "Oh, why didn't they just move Tooney inside and get someone else in?" Well, obviously, there's not a good enough left tackle, because they would have done that to begin with. So
it's that piece about weakening 2 positions, isn't it? I suppose, and that was the way that Andy Reid chose to deal with it. I don't know if you do have Tooney inside, is it a bit easy to at least help the tackle a little bit more in terms of you can chip, you can try and have more 2 tight end sets. I mean, to be fair, there was a play that Kelsey was in on that he was beat before he moved. Yeah. Before he got out of his stance, it was Josh Sweat just ran past him before he'd even got out of his set.
And I dare say it as well, like it almost feels like if he's not going to give protection to the backup tight end tackles, then is he going to give protection to the other backup tackles? Like, yeah, Tooney might have been better inside, but I think it was more a case of you needed more bodies there, because 1-on-1 or even with the 2-on-1s, they just weren't stopping them.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing he should, and like that, how they did it, it's worked against other teams, you know what I mean? Throughout this, it's not like the last 2 playoff games have got absolutely, Texans are a great line, and they didn't do as much damage as the Eagles done. So, you've got to say it's worked before, so why would you just change it just because? Yeah, the Eagles was probably the best, or certainly high up their defensive line, but the Texans the Bills have got a decent one as well. So it's worked before, it just did not work tonight, and it was like men versus boys, it felt like, when it was that defensive tackle. And it was, And even if you put more people on the line, then you got less weapons. And, like I said, they only were rushing 4. So they had so many bodies just in and around. And, as soon as they were getting to Mahomes, that's where some of the interceptions came from, was just the pressure, not even just in the middle, around the side, around everywhere. It was a dominant performance from that line and by the defensive backs who covered great as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it so when you can drop 7 in coverage, it makes it a lot easier for you. And, obviously the Eagles earned the right to do that by consistently winning on the line of scrimmage and doing that. And, it was a phenomenal performance. It was a phenomenal team performance from that unit, I think. I think that unit was the MVP. I know Jalen Hurts got in, he did play very well. It's not the way of the Super Bowl MVP, but that absolutely should have been that Eagles defensive line, I think. That was the difference, the big difference in the game, and that's what allowed the Eagles to completely dominate. But so we had Sweat with 2.5 sacks, Williams 2, Davis 1, 6 sacks overall. And
they might not have shown up in the stat sheet. I don't think Jalen Carter got a sack, and I don't think Nolan Smith got a sack, but they were fucking non-stop. They were just constantly getting through. They were constantly getting pressure on Mahomes. If they didn't get the sack, they were certainly leading to sacks and bad decisions from Mahomes.
And I don't know if you saw with Jalen Carter, he sometimes didn't go and rush.
Yeah,
because they had two defenders. Just we're supposed to cover him. So you just stopped not pressuring, and then you just leaving everyone else with 1-on-1. And I thought it was really clever how they changed that up and just thought, they're going to put 2 people on Jalen Carter. Let's just not rush it, and then you've got 2 people out, 2 out of the 5, not doing anything basically. And it's nuts. Obviously, Bryce Huff was a healthy scratch who just signed a $51 million deal at the start of the year. So the fact that they're able to do that and still have, this level of a good, I think is Josh Sweat going to be a free agent coming up? So
I think you're right.
I think if he is, he's certainly helped his bank balance with that performance, because especially in that first half, he was just incredible. And there was that free play where every single down was a sack or a pressure by all of them. It was, like you said, they were the MVP. It was the whole defense.
Yeah, and great. It was Cooper DeJean on his birthday, got the pick 6. I saw some interesting tweets from people. I don't know how they got up in the timeline, shouting it as what was it? The Jackie Robinson moment for white corners. Growing up, seeing somebody looking like you playing a position they told you can't play. It was bizarre stuff, but I can't
remember who it is. One of his teammates does call him Jackie Robinson, on their Instagram. They were replying to one of his pictures, "There's my Jackie Robinson." So I can't remember who it is, annoyingly, but
Cooper DeJean doing it for the white cornerbacks. Phenomenal play. Zach Bourne as well. Just that every slither of a mistake the Chiefs made, the Eagles just pounced upon it, and we're so used to saying that the other way around. It's if you make a mistake against the Chiefs, they punish you, they strangle you for it, and they didn't. The Eagles made one mistake, I think, which was the Jalen Hurts interception when they kind of had a bit of a O-line breakdown, protection breakdown, and Bolton was free in his face, but that was it. The Chiefs couldn't do anything with it. There was just nothing that was sparking them into life. I still had that thing in the back of my head as we were getting towards halftime, even after the pick 6 and it was 17-0. It's they've still got time to go and score, and if it's 17-7 and they get the ball back, then maybe, then actually you can shake that off and you might be 3 or 7 points down midway through the third quarter. I've never had a nightmare first half, but they couldn't do that. They just couldn't string anything together at all, and ended up being 24-0 at halftime. It was Mahomes.
I was going to say, it was the third quarter when they got over the halfway line.
Yeah,
which is
towards the end of the third quarter as well.
Yeah,
right at the end.
Down.
And it felt like the Eagles. I'm not saying they stopped playing hard, but it felt like with that one, it's they're not playing they're not going as extreme because they've got such a big lead. It was crazy, and like you said, it was weird how it started the first half as well, because the Eagles could have been up further, and I was a bit they're only 7-0 up, they're only 10-0 up, and there was the flag in the first drive, which I thought was a bit ticky-tacky, and it was a bit,
The conspiracy theorists were out immediately for that.
Yeah. And then I do think the next drive they did a makeup call because I don't think that was. I thought that was harsh. The high ball. With that flag as and then they had the interception, and then they had the field goal. But that was like so, and the Chiefs went 4 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and they're only leading 10-0. And I was like, oh, this could is this going to come back to bite them because they've had chances here,
Yeah, as soon as it went to 10-0, I instantly jumped on Chiefs money line in play and it was barely 2-1, so it wasn't really worth it. But yeah, it was like, well, I've seen this before. They're not taking advantage. They probably should have got to 21-0 and didn't, and they're going to live to regret this. But they didn't. They were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It hurts. I've just said nothing but. I spent 15 minutes on the radio at 4 o'clock this morning singing the Eagles' praises. It doesn't feel great, but yeah, no, phenomenal. And then on the flip side of it, like the Chiefs again, if you were saying you're going to keep Saquon to under 60 rushing yards, you're thinking here, well, you're going to win this game. And they did sell out. We talked about that in the preview. Like, can they, what were the Chiefs going to do? They sold out to stop the run, and they did a relatively good job of it. Like, the defense of the Chiefs from that part of things did a great job. Just Saquon just didn't have any lanes to get through. They, sound tackling, all the things you'd expect from that Chiefs defense, but it just couldn't balance with zero production from the offense. And I thought Jalen Hurts had a very, very good game. Like I say, there was that one mistake where he kind of had pressure in his face, but I thought he had a fantastic game. Just decision making was great. Making the decisions when to use his legs. I thought, they were absolutely fantastic. And, I certainly wasn't expecting Jalen Hurts to outrush Saquon Barkley in this game, but certainly did so. I think he broke his own record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in the Super Bowl that he set a couple of years ago. Did that. And yeah, he was just sound and made some great throws. And even kind of when they were up, they didn't take the foot off the gas. If they had the deep shot to Devonta Smith, which was incredible. And they just kept pushing on. Very grateful. I was on the over, so very glad that the Eagles continue to do that. And also kindly allowed the Chiefs to get a couple of consolation touchdowns, which helped hit the over quite comfortably in the end. But yeah, I mean, any other shout-outs from you? Kellen Moore had a good day as well. He's going to be leaving, and we're expecting to hear in the next couple of days that he'll be named the New Orleans Saints head coach. But yeah,
Sirianni's asked him to stay.
I mean, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, wasn't it?
Yeah. Run it back. Because, to be fair, Jalen Hurts, comes under so much criticism instantly as soon as things go slightly wrong. It's a bit like being the Cowboys quarterback, where you're such a big presence in the NFL mediascape, the Eagles. And Sirianni's had this as well. And to be fair, I've been very harsh on Nick Sirianni over the years. But you know what? Fair play to him. He shut me up. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win in his first 4 years as a coach. But more to the point, I want to speak about Jalen Hurts. That is a leader. You see him rallying his whole line round, watching film back instantly with them, the way he speaks. And you mentioned it there, his decision on his rushing, I thought it was inspired. Every time Spagnuolo blitzed him, well, not every time, but the majority of the time Spags blitzed him, he just found an escape lane and ran up the field. It was inspired, and he didn't actually show it, but I could just imagine Spagnuolo just tearing his hair out on the sideline. I've drawn up these blitzes, and they had one really good one that was neutral zone infraction as well. And I can just imagine Spags just flipping his fucking lid because
that was another uncharacteristic thing we saw from the Chiefs.
Yeah,
ill discipline. A couple of the early drives where they could have got off the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were just making key mistakes. Nick Bolton's one was agreed. They had him at 3rd and 26, getting the ball back. I think that was still 17 down.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 3rd and 26. We're going to get off the field here, and he just inexplicably hits Barkley 3 seconds later.
Yeah.
2 or 3 steps he took and just smashed him for no reason. You just those things. It's like that. That's not the Chiefs. This is comfortably the worst. I feel like I need to get back to Philly really, but comfortably the worst game I've seen the Chiefs play in 5, 6, 7 years. I
think since the Bucs game maybe, and this game probably was worse, truthfully. But that's the last time I can remember them just being not themselves at all. Just doesn't happen. I think this is the worst game of Patrick Mahomes' career by EPA as well. Just nothing went for him. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, again, I just wanted to mention as well, like, Kellen was leaving. Let's just say that, we could take it as a red. I think he's going to be on his 4th offensive coordinator in 4 years. And again, the amount of shit he gets despite that, it's almost like a Baker Mayfield situation where he just gets passed to a new OC every year and expected to thrive despite it. And yeah, they have a good O-line, they have good weapons, but it's not easy to learn a new system every year. Like, obviously, that isn't easy. And you never hear him grumble, you never hear him complain. You never hear anything really bad about Jalen Hurts other than, if he throws an interception and it's like the end of the world. I thought he spoke really well this morning about, proving people wrong, proving people right, what have you. And I just think he has a really good perspective as a football player and as a leader of that team. So I'd have loved Devonta Smith to get MVP for selfish reasons, backing him at 65-1. He had a great catch. Could have got a bit more featured. He was leading receiver on the day, on the team, obviously. But yeah, I'm really pleased Hurts got it. And it does make, I know Dallas haven't been shining recently, but that is 4 Super Bowls in a row with a quarterback from Texas winning. So we've got Mahomes, Stafford, Jalen Hurts. So, maybe a quarterback who plays in Texas sometime soon would be nice. It was not CJ Stroud. But probably not.
Arch?
Probably more likely, yeah. Probably.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Hurts just been doubted every single step of the way, from kind of getting benched in the national championship game, playing for Alabama, and then got benched for Tua. Imagine that now. Benched for Tua, and then moving on to Oklahoma, and then come through in the second round. A lot of drafted to be behind Carson Wentz, and a lot of noise, negativity.
Yeah. And he's on the other sideline as well during this game.
Yeah. But yeah, shy.
And his crazy obviously has 2 Super Bowl appearances, and he's probably outplayed Mahomes both games. Obviously, the first game was a little bit closer, but he's outperformed him by quite a way. And yeah, Mahomes is still up there with one of the best quarterbacks ever. I'm guessing this doesn't help his legacy. He's had 2 where they've been absolute blowouts. But I also think, does that also help his case? He's managed to get teams with such bad offensive line play to get to the Super Bowl. It's either or. But yeah, credit to Jalen Hurts. I think he was outside. I don't know if you've seen there's some rumors or speculation that because Mahomes got sacked in the first quarter and he hit his head fairly on the ground, and there's some whispers now that may have affected him and all that kind of stuff. But
I don't think he had a chance. He was on a hiding to nothing. Yeah. Ultimately, he can do it on his own, and that's the thing, I suppose, with the Chiefs. And this is when you've got Mahomes. I think it's crazy to be put in a position where you just don't protect. You're not capable of being able to protect him. Like I thought the Eagles' D-line might have had some success and been able to kind of get sacks in key moments. I didn't think it was this. It was every play. It was every play. At one point, they had a better pressure rate than Mahomes had completion rate. In the game, I think at one point they had 46% pressure rate, and Mahomes was like 42% pass completion. It was ridiculous. Every time 3 and 4 in his face. It was, to just not be able to compete. And I think so. Look, the Chiefs did it last time, didn't they? They went and just spent big in free agency on O-linemen, and I don't like. There isn't really that to be had, I don't think, in terms of available free agents. So I don't know if it's through trades, and obviously they go big on revamping the O-line in the draft.
And the more likely outcome, to be fair, is they lose Trey Smith in free agency because the teams with bigger pockets than they have. Like, the cost of being great is not having much salary room as a rule. So, yeah, I think the likelihood is in free agency, their O-line probably gets worse and better. So, I imagine, like you said, it's going to be an O-line heavy draft.
Yeah, a revamp. And that's also what you need to do. And look, the Chiefs are going to have Rashee Rice will be back. Pacheco will have had an off season, so I'm sure they'll be able to get some semblance of a running game going again. Do we think this is the end of Travis Kelce, or do we think he comes back?
I think he comes back.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe, but he looked completely different during this game. It just he didn't hardly have any catches. I think against the 49ers last year, he only had one catch for 9 yards in the first half, but then went crazy in the second. It just never felt like this throughout the playoffs. It just seems like he's got a little bit slow. And like we mentioned, obviously didn't have a great game, but yeah, he's just that offensive line. And even when Mahomes had time, he just wasn't hitting players. It wasn't there was a few down around the ankles. They had the Hopkins one where it was miles open. And like you mentioned earlier, it didn't feel like the Chiefs. If that was Chiefs, they would have hit Hopkins and he would have got a good 40 yards in that because he had so much room and they would have got field goal, touchdown. And it just felt like the little mistakes, and it just wasn't their day. And who knows where they go from here. Obviously, they managed to build the internal offensive line through the draft from, not big picks. So I'm guessing they're hoping to do something similar.
Yeah. So we've got the Eagles. Could they do we've talked about Chiefs three-peat. Obviously, the Eagles have denied them. Given the Eagles, the way they've run that organization, they've got deals done for key people early. Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown. Their key pieces, they've got signed up to very team-friendly contracts that allow them the room to do other pieces, to do other things. That core of that defensive line is young. It's all relatively recent draft picks. Secondary, they've got 2 rookies there, of course. Just talked about them, Quinny Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Feels like the Eagles could be there and thereabouts for the next 4 or 5 years. They've been to 3 Super Bowls in 7 seasons now. It feels like they could get there with a lot more regularity with what they've got in place.
You definitely could.
Try back-to-back first, though. Didn't do that.
Yeah, got Jaden Daniels to contend with. Got, Giants' new quarterback to contend with. Got Brian Schottenheimer to contend with in division. So it's not all, smiles and glory holes for the Eagles. But they have built that team really well. I remember on our draft recap just being furious that they got Cooper DeJean in the second round and where they got Quinyon Mitchell. It didn't feel fair. Because I thought Cooper DeJean was a perfect fit for Seattle in the first round. And I thought he was a first-round player. And the fact they got him in the second round, what pick was it? I did have it up earlier. Pick 50? Or pick 40, sorry. And there's a lot of good players went around there, but, a lot of players he should have went ahead of as well. And, it was obvious at the time. And it's Howie does it again. It's Howie didn't do shit. He just sat there. But, I am being slightly tongue-in-cheek, obviously. He builds a team really well. You've got Smith, Goddard, AJ Brown there for the next couple of years at least. Certainly at least the next year. Jalen Hurts there next year. Saquon Barkley there next year. That whole line, I don't think there's any issues of retiring anytime soon. Unlike when you had the Jason Kelsey stuff, I don't think Lane Johnson, would be the one, but I don't think we're talking that anytime soon. So, or certainly not in this year. So, yeah, the future's bright for the Eagles. Again, I don't doubt how he'll have something up his sleeve, even at pick 32. Whether that's free agency moving around or that is
Myles Garrett.
You wouldn't doubt it.
Imagine if that line added Myles Garrett.
Yeah. But it's somebody who could do it and make it work and move things around. Mm-hmm. They have, 20 million in cap space as it is now, or 18 million as it is now. The cap's going up, obviously, for everybody, but that includes the Eagles. I
think they've got a good chance, but it's nothing's guaranteed. There's not many NFC teams which have gone back to back to back, and I think there's going to be better, some teams who are still, the Lions are going to come back stronger. The 49ers, the Rams and Seahawks a little better. The NFC North, maybe not the South, but they've got a good chance than anyone. It's just can you stay healthy, which I think they have done all year, and get them get that luck which you need to get to a Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah, excellent, good stuff. I suppose just to cap off, we've got to talk about us betting performance for the evening. We'll get into our fourfolds and fantasy game day and our picks competition, which some excelled at and some didn't. I was on the over, mentioned it earlier. I was on over 48.5. So glad to sign off with a win for the year in terms of the totals and side. I was real worried, obviously, that the Chiefs were going to get blanked. And I don't think the Eagles were going to get to 49 to cover it. But thankfully, the Eagles were nice and let them score a couple of times. So, we hit the over. And I was real pumped, actually. My Juju Smith-Schuster prop hit within 4 offensive plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So he got that the first grab, he got 11 yards on the first grab. And it was like, and luckily I got on it early because his line had moved to 16.5. So I was over 1.5 receptions, over 15.5 receiving yards. And he finished with 2 catches for 16 yards. That had moved by yards. So luckily I was on it early. Plus 120, nice cash. I was pretty pleased with that. To be fair, I thought it might have been a bit more involved than that. But it was the first 2 Chiefs successful passes were to Juju and cashed that. So that was good. Byron, you were on the Mahomes rush yards. We talked about that a lot in the build up. He had 4 for 25 in the end. I mean, he definitely covered a lot more than 25 yards with his with him running around. But
I think he would have got there on the one that came back for holding as well.
Yeah,
I think that went over 15. So it is what it is. But I think he covered about 150 yards by himself. But not all of them were straightforward. So
and you were a bit just short on Devonta Smith. You had 6 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown. You were 4 for 69 in the touchdown. Joe, you were on Hurts and Mahomes anytime touchdown. So Hurts got the first one of the game with classic tush push. And then you were on Marquise Hollywood Brown, 50 plus receiving yards, touchdown, and 4 receptions. And Hollywood wasn't really a factor, was it?
No, we got that touchdown. We got called back as well. So when that happened, I was like, okay, there's still a chance. But it didn't. I did put one on in the morning. I know it wasn't on the sheet or anything, so it doesn't count. But I did have a Worthy to get 2 touchdowns, and that was a plus 1,200.
Nice.
So I managed to have a little profit there.
And Byron, you faded Charlie, didn't you? So Charlie, the dog, picked the Chiefs minus 1.5. And what bet did you place in response to that?
Eagles minus 9.5. I was feeling it anyway, I will say. The closer the game got, the more confident I was in the Eagles win. Obviously, I picked the Eagles in our preview, etc. But the closer it got, the more I just felt like, I'm not going to say exactly what happened would happen, but it was more like, Cash, give me a shout. It was more. I didn't expect such dominance from the Eagles' defensive line, but I expected the Eagles' both lines to play really well. I was happy I faded Barkley on basically everything. I did put him as my captain in fantasy game day just because he's the most expensive. And it was hard to pick one other player to go off. It's kind of how it played out, really. I guess Worthy was it, but not as you expect the game to go. But Eagles minus 9.5 was my winning bet of the day, plus 400-ish. I think it was just slightly above 400. And I did have, which I shouted out on basically everywhere that I spoke this week, Javier Worthy, fastest ball carrier, plus 250. That came in as well. Didn't understand why he wasn't favourite in the market. And I did check the next-gen stats on it. Saquon Barkley was a favourite, and he wasn't in the top 20 ball carriers, ball carries. So, Devonta Smith was there a couple of times. Jalen Hurts was there a couple of times. When I say top 20, I don't mean top 20 individual players. That would have been ridiculous if he wasn't there. Barkley didn't have a finger. I mean, it's unsurprising as well. He basically ran 3 yards of cloud dust every single time he got the ball. Xavier Worthy was a real nice winner in there. And thankfully, it was only offensive players because Cooper DeJean's pick 6 was actually a faster miles per hour. But for once, a bookie played nicely and gave me a win for that. So.
We'll talk about the bookies not playing nice later on. But pretty good, I suppose, night overall. I just did some totting up because I just needed to do some updates on my personal sheet from the playoffs. But for my sides in total for the 2024 NFL season, wasn't pretty from me. 102, 116 and 6 for 47%, which is not making money. That's a real rough, bad year from me. Bad year ending up in the hole. 102, 116 and 6. But
good teams win.
Yeah. Got to be transparent here. I'll be bounced back next year for sure. Travis Hunter Heisman is doing a lot of lifting for my overall balances over the course of the year. But rough one. Lots to learn heading into next year. Some tendencies.
Perfection.
New tendencies to break for next year. Should we have a look at how the rest of our competitions went and finish off, and we'll wrap everything up before we have a break? I do need to get the sheet up. I broke the deck, Joe. Sorry. I don't really know why it's not working properly, but give me 2 seconds. A lovely image.
Season for everybody. The deck's like, I've had enough.
There is a lovely image of Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts collecting the.
Oh yeah, like a magic eye. You've just got to zoom in and
it's just not
weaken your eyes. It's really nice though. Once you get it,
not producing on when you present it. It's fine in the deck, and then as soon as you present it, the picture just disappears. So
it's not a magic eye. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just my lack of ability to use Canva. Fourfold draft that was 3 for the Super Bowl, 3 picks. Joe, you cast a plus 425 treble. Well done. You were over for the game. Hurts anytime touchdown, and Devonta Smith over 52.5 receiving yards. Well done.
Yeah, I got a nice little profit boost as well through Bet365, so I put that profit boost on that. So it was a nice little win.
Excellent. Shout out Bet365 for the bonuses. And you won the fourfold with that, going 3-0. You won the postseason fourfold draft competition. 10-5 from your 15 selections, which is fantastic. Well done. Byron, you went 1-2 in the Super Bowl. Your Noah Gray analysis just didn't come to fruition, did it, in the big game, as good as it was?
Well, I think that's a big thing we haven't covered in this game, and I think that's what we're going to do for the next hour is the Noah Gray breakdown.
Yeah, big time.
What happened, Andy? What did you do, Andy? It was a grey day in only one way, sadly.
Yeah, sadly. You also had Saquon anytime touchdown, and then you took the Eagles as underdogs, and then I just shit the bed completely. Chiefs' favourites, Kelsey anytime touchdown, and Dallas got it over 4.5 receptions. It was a disaster class. 12-2-1 for me in the postseason.
Not 12-2-1, were you?
Sorry, 2-12-1.
Yeah.
Very different. Very different. Yeah, 2-12-1. Sorry. I did my 4-4.
More than 2 losses on this week.
Yeah. I did my fourfold winning in the regular season.
Best time to do it, I'll tell you, after Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll be back. We'll have the fourfold challenge. Maybe we'll try and spice it up. Maybe we did something different from year 1 to year 2. So maybe we'll do something different from year 2 to year 3. We'll see. But we've got
a charity donation next year, is it?
Maybe. Yeah, you don't want to. You can't do these gimmicks all the time, Byron.
No, just when I lose, we manage to find a good idea. Yeah,
we're a serious show. You know, we're trying to be a very serious part of the NFL media here.
Oh, it's breaking news.
It's a new direction for the show. That's what it is. And then we had a lovely little Super Bowl predictions competition. Love doing this. Enjoy doing this. And so, we picked out kind of a load of props from the sheets. And gentlemen, you two absolutely smashed it. You were 10-1 on the 11 selections, which is phenomenal stuff, really. 10-1. Heath went 6-5. Phil went 8-3. And I managed to lose this one as well. I went 4-6. This playoffs were not kind to me.
Yeah.
A time
and I was going to say, it was really close as well, because the second quarter was leading with the most amount of points, but the Chiefs coming back and getting the touchdowns for just to pad out the score, helped me and Byron, because we would have been same score as Phil, but lost on the tiebreaker. So
again, shout out to Heath Cummins from Fantasy Football Today at CBS Sports, and Phil from British and Irish Eagles for taking part in our daft little competition. But so we had, obviously, against the spread, obviously the Eagles won, so that was the 3 of you guys, Byron, Joe and Phil. Me and Heath were on the Chiefs. Over, 4 of the 5 of us hit the over. Heath was on the under. MVP, only Byron got Jalen Hurts as MVP. The rest was a mix of, it's Mahomes. The other 4 were on Mahomes and Saquon. First touchdown scorer, Joe, Heath, and Phil all called Jalen Hurts correctly. Over under 5.5. Yeah. It could have been Jahan Dotson,
Yeah. Which would have been a nice little payout if anyone put money on it.
Do you think he was worth a third-round pick just for that one play in the Super Bowl?
Well, I think he got 2 catches, which was more than his playoff run. So, yeah, why not?
He was, I think, 65-1 first touchdown. I've seen someone with the slip.
Yeah. Oh,
got to be gutted.
Gutted there. It kind of looked like it might have been short, but you're like, yeah. Over under 5.5 touchdowns for it again. 4 out of the 5 of us. Just Heath, who was on the under. Over under 3.5 field goals. And I had to check this thinking, did Eagles actually score 4 field goals? But they did, yeah. Byron, Joe, and Heath all on over 3.5 field goals. Successful 2-point attempts, yes. The Chiefs, I don't know why the Chiefs were going for one because it didn't make any mathematical sense at the point where they went for it. It was still, I think they went for it like 5 minutes left when they were 5 scores down. But good on them. 2-point successful 2-point attempt. High scoring quarter was the fourth quarter with those Chiefs garbage time scores. Byron, Joe, and Heath all on that. Tails never fails for the coin toss. Again, just me sat on heads. Anthem over. I'm saying it was definitely over. Heath was on the under. Bucky seemed to think otherwise. It was somewhere 205 to 207 by the time it finished. What did we make of the rendition of the anthem?
He liked to say "Land of the Free."
Yeah,
I thought it was okay. It was very piano-y.
Piano-y. Yeah.
I like that more than just like the stand and sing. A bit more character to it.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Definitely hit the over. Opening kickoff touchback. I obviously went on my own again on an island. I went no, it was yes. And then the Gatorade colour was the tiebreaker. It was what Lane Johnson told us it was going to be when he was on Part of My Take during the week. Yeah, he let slip that they like to have the lemon and lime, yellow/green colour of Gatorade. And that's what got poured over Nick Sirianni with about 5 minutes left in the game. So, yeah.
It was a very good pour as well. Smith and AJ Brown very subtle about it.
Yeah,
I did like what you said, Byron, because that was 5 minutes ago, and if the Chiefs had come back and won, that would be like so funny. If he's just stood there, it's just all stick it, and he's lost the Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I would have died.
So what would the bookies have done if that happened? Because then Andy Reid would have got some.
Because it's specifically what gets poured over the winning coach. If they'd got beat, that would have been voided, and it'd be whatever the Chiefs chucked over Andy Reid. So well done, guys. 10-1. That's phenomenal on that competition. The pick, especially when it's just a lot being on either side on a lot of stuff. So yeah, well done, gents. Good stuff. Fantasy game, Joe. It's broke. We fix it. It's fantasy game day. Why is it like that? Fantasy game day. We'll talk about that a bit. Yeah. While Joe fixes it in the background. Different version of fantasy game. It was just the ballers, shorter 5-pick version. 3 of us all had to go at a separate team. I guess you all don't know, do you? Who was the who had the best good teams win great teams cover team? It was me. I think mainly because what did I have? I'd with Kelsey as captain. I still managed to outscore you two guys. Yeah, I had Kelsey.
Yeah.
Kelsey Hurts.
You have to win something, so
I did, yeah. Kelsey Hurts, Worthy, Goddard, and Marquise Hollywood Brown for me. So yeah.
What are you spending your winnings on?
Well, we didn't cash.
Right, yeah. You made it sound like such a big deal. I figured it must be something big.
Yeah, no, finished 56th with 83.79 points. So yeah. But I don't need the cash result. The cash return.
That's lucky.
It's a moral win.
All right, yeah, that is fortunate. Must be nice.
Must be nice. Excellent. Is that fixed, Joe, do we think?
Do you want a trivia question? Or a little fun fact while Joe's working on that? So Devonta Smith yesterday became the first player who was drafted from Alabama, because Jalen Hurts obviously transferred, to score a point in the Super Bowl.
Oh, nice.
How wild is that?
That is wild.
Alabama,
I did see he was like
school.
he was like the fourth or fifth person to like win like the Heisman, the College Bowl, Super Bowl, and something else. So
yeah, the fifth. I do have the other four if you'd like to try and guess them. That might be more of a Paul question. I wasn't going to put it as a thing, but I did have it as a Twitter favorite.
What's the play? They've won Heisman,
the National
Championship and the Super Bowl. Ugh. Oh, I struggle with this. Heisman, National Championship, and Super Bowl.
I can certainly give some clues so we're not just on dead air.
Then we're going to need some clues.
Okay, one of them won the Super Bowl MVP last night.
Oh,
Jill Hurts, yeah.
Cuss.
One of them had his Heisman stripped, I believe.
Reggie?
Mm-hmm.
Reggie Bush?
Mm-hmm.
He went with Orleans, didn't he?
Oh, of course, yeah. New Orleans, yeah. The Saints.
One of them was a defensive player who won the Heisman.
Oh, fuck it. Woodson, Howard. Charles Woodson, yeah.
Charles Woodson. And the last one, bravo if you get it. He played for the Packers from 1957 to 1962.
We're all right. You can just tell us that.
He was nicknamed the Golden Boy. He was a halfback and kicker. So he played for the Packers from 57 to 66, other than the 63 season, when he was suspended after a scandal involving gambling and associating with gamblers. Maybe see if we can get him on the show. He died in 2020. Probably won't get him on the show. But that was Paul Hornung, who is he makes up that list. So yeah, Reggie, Charles Woodson, Paul Hornung, Jalen Hurts, and Devonta Smith.
Joe, I can't fix this.
I don't know what you've done. So.
It tells who they were. It doesn't really matter. They had Javier Worthy as captain. They had both quarterbacks. Who else did they have?
They had, I'm going to have to find it quickly. They had Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. They're 4 out of 5 Chiefs. 4 out of the 5 of the Chiefs, and they won. And 2 of them did
we know for
nothing.
next year, you just get them 2 quarterbacks in and hope for the best. 22.78 points from Mahomes feels like a ton. But, yeah I guess
maybe 3 touchdowns. Yeah, 3 touchdowns to over 50 plus. So yeah, congrats. Sorry to the Fantasy Game Day guys for ruining this graphic. We'll make sure it's fixed. I've no idea what I've done, Joe. But
you got your score on okay though. I see that.
Yeah,
that's fine.
All right. Disaster. Yeah, that's so. Whatever happens there is what's happened on the front cover, and I don't know why it's done that. So that is, I suppose, a couple of bits. Should we just cover off? A couple of bits of news came out Super Bowl weekend. We've already talked about NFL coming to Ireland. Rodgers out the door at the Jets.
Lol.
Any surprises?
Not surprised, but I like that they had him fly in to tell him. I think that's a really good fuck you move. I think that's smart from the Jets as well. Eat the dead cap now. Start on a, take your shit immediately, essentially. You don't want to have a bad year with Rodgers and then have to eat the bad cap. I think it's just good decision making and kind of the lack of decision making the Jets have had for a long time. I forget who the GM even is. I know who it is. I forget his name. But yeah, I think that's just a good process thing. I have no idea where Rodgers is going to end up. I don't know if anyone's going to take him on. I think
Raiders?
It's a Raiders.
Someone
if this was
would
a Raiders
take
of
him.
2 years ago, I would say yes. Or a Raiders of last year, I would say yes. I kind of think Pete Carroll and Tom Brady might not want his bullshit in the building.
And there's more options, isn't there, as well? Darnold potentially is going to land somewhere.
Yeah.
Cousin, would you be better with Cousins if you needed a stopgap for a year somewhere?
I would take Cousins over Rodgers because you're not bringing the drama with you.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Rodgers is a culture killer, and I don't think any competent organization will want anything to do with a 41-year-old who insists on bringing drama with them. He's not that good of a player. His yardage totals were pretty high last year, but so were his pass attempts. I think he was 8th in total yardage and 2nd in total pass attempts. He's going to be 8th in passing totals, isn't he, if he's throwing it the most in the league? I think we might be looking at a Bill Belichick situation. I'm not saying he's going to go back to college. He might get a 20-year-old girlfriend, but I don't think he's not going to go back to college. But I think it might be one where we think he's just going to have his pick of the jobs. Not that we're saying that. He might think he's going to just pick a team. And then I just think the market might not be there. I can understand the team if they're desperate who would go, you know what, let's just give it a chance, like the Giants maybe. But the problem is, I don't think he'd be a good mentor for a rookie either.
Yeah.
But again, like, if you're Brian Daboll and you have Daniel Jones and Drew Lock for the last 3-4 years, you know, is it tempting to say, you know, Rodgers another year from his Achilles injury? He can throw the ball. I just wouldn't want to put my organization on it, truthfully. But
I would say he did put like so the tape at the end of the year. It can, I think, that could convince someone and be able to be like, look, he played well with like recovering from the injury and like going forward, just standing for 1 year. I was surprised the Jets let him go just because I don't know what they're gonna do. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, what else are they gonna get Sam Darnold back? Yeah. You know what I mean? And like them kind of quarterbacks they do well at organizations which are settled and, you know, and not the teams like the Jets. So like if you go in and you get Darnold and he has absolute stinker, which could happen, then obviously Charlie's Ellis is happy with the Rodgers take.
Being completely overrun by dogs here. Excellent. And Joe, a bit of news that came out the weekend with concerning San Francisco 49ers, while Joe deals with the dog. Debo actively seeking to trade Debo Samuel as well. Again, another one where it just feels like it's the right time and separation's probably needed. He wasn't a happy chappy for a lot of last year, Debo. Yeah,
I'm not surprised. I think I said it last off season. As soon as I signed Ayuk, there was 1 year of Debo, and with how much I think we're still gonna, if they do trade him, they'll have to try and trade him before the draft because they would eat quite a bit of a dead cap. But I think it's the right time. I think, like I said, with Ayuk's big contract, they can't have both of them. I think drafting PSO was again another move to get rid of Debo. You have to need how he played the last 2 games after everything he went through was a good sign, and we'll see where it goes. Obviously, the Ayuk injury wasn't, not what they wanted. So we'll see how Ayuk gets back. You've got PSO, you've got Jennings, who you signed. So they might draft another wide receiver at some point. But we'll see what we can get for him. It's a perfect time where, like, if we give it another year, there's going to be like hardly any draft capital. So I think they'll probably get like third or fourth. I'm sure there'll be some team willing to give that up for Debo, who I'm not saying he's finished, but he's not the Debo of old. He could still have 1 or 2 good years, but he's not going to be a true number 1 wide receiver for any teams. But I guess
kind of see kind of 3rd to a 5th has been that range for kind of those veteran wide receivers, hasn't it, recently? And then we'll finish off with a ridiculously early look ahead to next year. I've just brought up the odds to win Super Bowl 60. Up on Bet365. You should be able to see them on the screen there. If not, you've got them on your own screens. Eagles and Chiefs are joint favourites at the minute. That's been bouncing around all day at 6-1, 6.5-1. But we've got Chiefs and the Eagles at 13-2, and it's 13-2, and then it's the Bills and Ravens next on. What do we like early? Do we think the Eagles can repeat? Do you like somebody else? Joe, the Niners are very high up there, considering kind of the disaster of the year that they had. They're kind of 4th or 5th favourites at 14-1. But yeah, anything that we like there price-wise this early on?
Immediate standout to me is kind of that actual full row. Chargers 28-1, Rams 30-1, Texans 30-1. I like all 3 of those at that price. Trying to find one that's wild though. But actually, we're kind of leading off on the as we were exiting the Rodgers conversation. I did want to kind of throw out, like, if there's one team that will sign him, who do you think it will be? And I'm not necessarily saying they're a contender here, but they're just a nice long price and they're always competitive enough. Ding dong, you got it, Paul. The Pittsburgh Steelers 65-1. If there's anyone,
if he went to the Steelers, he just wouldn't fuck about with Tomlin.
I was going to say exactly that. Yeah, someone who will take him in and say, like, you know, it's Pittsburgh Steelers football, yada yada yada, and maybe cope with it, because I think they're looking like a divorce with Russell Wilson. The Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson stuff's come out this last week, and it seems like it's Russ's people trying to protect his reputation, as it is every offseason at this point. And I did just see, as we were looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team there at 60-1, that bam, get my money on. There might be 2, in fact. And it's not 65. The Cardinals.
It's not the Cardinals, yeah, 65-1. Atlanta Falcons, Michael Penix.
I like the Falcons. Yeah, I like the Falcons a lot at 60-1. I like Penix a lot from what we've seen I didn't really think much of him coming into the draft, but I was really impressed with him in the NFL. And you're going to give me the Seattle Seahawks with a new OC, Geno still in the driver's seat, Mike McDonald backing him to the hill, 60-1. Boom, let's go. They're going to boost that whole line in the offseason. Yeah, Seahawks 60-1 is my favorite bet.
Yeah. Anyone in particular catching your eye at this very, very early stage? 360 odd days out from Super Bowl 60, Joe?
Yeah, I was going to say the Falcons was going to be minus 6-1. It was probably somewhere in the NFC where a team could surprise and sneak in. But yeah, the Rams as well. I do. If Matthew Stafford stays, I think that's big. And actually, they've had Bengals at 22-1. If they start out the defense, obviously they've got a new coordinator. If they invest there, we'll see what they do with Higgins. But when you still got Burrows and Chase, anything can happen at 22s. Like they could sneak past some of these teams and obviously they finished third in their division, so they'll have a third place schedule. And I guess that's why with 49ers, they've got a fourth place schedule where I think the hardest two teams like the away, like Texans. So they haven't got anyone like big to play.
Yeah, a bit of a softer schedule. Mm-hmm. I think I was similar last year. The Packers in and around that 20-25-1 range, 22-1 here. We bet 365. I think another year with those young players. Probably just need to find a weapon. A true weapon. I don't think your one's Christian Watson, but yeah, can they do that? And they kind of all those young players progress another year. I like them at 22-1 as well. The Packers and the Chargers at 28-1 seems very, very interesting to me as well. So yeah, just a very early look there at Super Bowl 60, which will be played at Santa Clara and San Francisco 49ers Stadium as well. Indication, so we've seen from the logo reveal was done today or last night, and the colours have been indicative of the teams. So I'm reading that because it's like light blue and purple. So Lions, Ravens?
I think it's Vikings, Chargers. I haven't seen the logo.
Vikings, so. Yeah.
Let me have a quick Google here, see what we're dealing with.
I think it's more like, I don't know, it's a bit light, the blue, for both the lines. And maybe it's for the older version of that Chargers uniform, that baby blue.
Like Dolphins? Is it like sneaking into the aqua kind of? Or is it the or is it the Titans when they're playing the Oilers uniforms?
Maybe. Yeah, that's quite the move. But yes, we'll see. I mean, that's all to come. We are going to take a well-deserved break. A good teams and great teams cover. It's been one hell of a season. Our second full season as the UK's, I'm going to say it, best gambling podcast. Many others are about. Some others may take umbrage with that. But thank you for being with us across 78 episodes. 79, actually, including your Hot Wings Challenge, Byron. 79 episodes, including that Hot Wings Challenge. Too many guests to mention. But thank you for everyone that's come on and supported us and helped us make all these episodes. It's been ups and downs, winning bets, losing bets, lots of laughs, lots of tears. We've got to the end, and the Philadelphia Eagles are your Super Bowl 59 champions. It'll be about 5 or 6 weeks that we're off form, and then we'll be back with free agency, the free agency frenzy. So when that kicks off, that kickstarts our season as the league year begins. So yeah, thanks for everyone that's watched, listened, liked a post, shared a post, whatever. Hopefully we're going to take good teams win great teams cover to another level in 2025. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy your breaks, and I'll see you in the middle of March.
See you then. Cheers, Paul, as always. Cheers, Joe.